Hi, this is AI Wisdom that gives you the AI wisdom. Hello, welcome to the live coding session. In this coding session, I'll be coding the top-down class first. Now, first of all, you can see the top-down class as we introduced here. And the top-down class require a memorization table which need to be stored globally. For this purpose, it is good for us to use a class where we can record the memorization table in the field of the class so that it can be reused in multiple function that is called recursively. So let us define a class here. Let's call it the LCS top down. And first of all, we define a init method, and we take in two string which we want to compare. And the memo table we need to initialize with according to the length of the string. And remember that we need the length of the string +1. So we need to, first of all, the number of columns will be like, so the initial value will be 0. The number of column will be the length of S2 +1. And for the number of rows, it will be for J in range, then S1 +1. So the +1 is for the additional columns and rows here. Now we record the string as well, so we don't need to pass them continuously for the function we are going to define later. Now let's decode the LCS function, which need to put a self because it belongs to the class LCS top down, and we need to take in the ing value which initialized to 0. So if we have the self.s1, so if self.s1 is equal to self.s2 j, in such a case, we'll be having the memo table memorizing the result of ij, which is equal to 1 plus the self.lcs I +1 j +1, which corresponding to this code here, this red code. And else we will have this the same memo table, but we will record different thing. We will record the max of the value of self.lcs I +1 j, or self.lcs I j +1. We take the max value of it. And since we return the result here, this both, and the result has already been stored in the memo, so we just return self.memo ij. Alright, now we need to remember the purpose of the self.memo is to prevent repetitive action. Therefore, if the current ing larger than 0, then we will be taking the value directly. Alright, so this is all the codes that is covering here. And remember, we talking about when there is out of scope, we don't want to take care of it, and we just did return a 0. So in such a case, we'll be taking care here. If the I is larger than the length of S1 -1, or J is larger than the length of the S2 -1, in such a case, we will be returning a 0 immediately. So this is the LCS function that has been defined here. And let's do some testing here. So let's define a main method. a main portion. Now let's say if we have two string s1 equal to abcd and s2 equal to bd. Now if we want to use the function, we need to declare a class which input the two string for the class, and we call the l.lcs. Let's see the result. Let's run it and see the result. So we have a 2 here, and bd is 2, which is the correct result. Now we want to get the final string using the method I mentioned to you. So how do we get the final string? We implement another method to get the final string. Now let's have a new method, def get final string self. So first of all, we get the memo table, and we initialize the rows and columns starting from 0, and the result string is empty. So whenever that the row is smaller than the length of this s1 and the column is smaller than the length of the s2, we do the following. Now first of all, since we are starting from the top here, so we're starting from 0 0, and we check right and bottom to see whether there is anything equal. So this is the thing we are going to do now. So we check whether current row and columns is equal to the down. If yes, then the row plus 1 will be going to that row. Now we check that if whether otherwise, we check that whether the row and column of the current cell is equal to the right one. If yes, then we move to that column. So the row also must be equal here, and we need to have double equal here. And if both cases above doesn't hold, we check whether diagonally the value will be +1. So the value here will be this one +1. If yes, then we increase both the rows and columns. And what we do is we will store the results of the string from the current cell. So we can get it from the S1 with this string. We can get the row here. We can record the string here B. So cell to S1 row. And it is impossible for else to be triggered. So we just do a else raise exception. This is not possible to be triggered. And we'll be returning the outcome, the result, as the outcome of the final string. Now we print l dot get final string, and we run it. We see the outcome is BD, which is the right result. And thank you so much for the live coding session of the top-down method. Please like the video if you feel that it helps you, and please subscribe to the channel if you want to find out more materials useful for your AI wisdom. I will be continuously updating materials that are related to AI, such as machine learning, data science, and algorithm in this channel. See you then!